guys, I'm back with another video, and I came across this information from a Facebook post from somebody else, one of the other users on Facebook. And look at this. This is on Forbes. And take that, NSA. Scientists hide communications using a hole in time. Basically, they can cloak their communications, as if we didn't know that already. They're cloaking everything. They have invisibility cloaks. If you haven't seen those are quite amazing and eye-opening that they have this technology. But they have all kinds of technologies that would blow our minds. And they are about probably 100 years or more ahead of us in all of their technologies. That's why that keeps transforming and morphing, the darkness does in the world. But we just keep plodding along, doing what we do, just following along the trail. All right, so I'm just going to read this. With the revelation that the NSA has been collecting phone call data about Verizon users, it's a good time to think about new ways to secure data communications. And researchers at Purdue have developed a fascinating type of security that has the potential to be implemented on a large scale. They've built a temporal cloak that can hide communications by building a hole in time. This research builds on work being done at Cornell that was first reported in the summer of 2011. You see how long they've had this technology? Now, get this. They're selling it, of course, as a good thing. But basically what they're doing is they're disclosing what they've been doing already about all kinds of things. They're hiding so much information. So this is very old news. This was written in 2013. And we're just now hearing about this because we don't always look at the science news that comes out. There's these different science channels that you can listen to and watch all the new technology coming. And it really takes a while for it to trickle out into the mainstream. But I guarantee you they've had this for probably 50 years or more to be able to hide things. So they're basically telling us that they're going to be spying on us in a grand scale way where they can't even be tracked. And they've been doing this for a long time. So that's what I think about all of this. So let's keep reading. The previous temporal cloak, however, was limited in nature. It was only able to hide discrete events for a few seconds at a time and required special equipment. The new cloak, however, can hide data long enough to transmit over fiber optics. What's more, it was built using off-the-shelf components that could integrate smoothly into the existing telecommunications infrastructure, according to researcher Joseph Lukens. Isn't that great? More spyware for your technology. See, this is the thing that I don't really comprehend. Why are we all embracing more chaos and more confusion and control in our lives? Why do we want to overcomplicate life with all of this technology? To me, it's just nonsense. I see the natural world and I'm like, look at how simple life can actually be. But for some odd reason, humanity, in its strive for better creations, just keeps creating more chaos for the world to be consumed by. And it's just really ludicrous. I embrace the natural world wholeheartedly. And I'm just going to stick to that because by the time we get from Aquarius all the way back around to the age of Gemini, we will already be there. Like it's going to be just a natural world again, because that's what happens. We eventually reject all of this craziness and control, and we push away from the oligarch systems, because all of them end up being oligarch systems, and they intrude upon our lives and they make it very difficult. And I get that, the soul is looking for the new experience. And the soul is just here to go through all these different processes that are actually alchemical in their nature. Most people don't know about that. I'm going to be doing a video about the alchemy of the body and also alchemy of the soul so that people can see what's actually out here in the spiritual realm and the spiritual aspects so they can really get a grasp of what's happening and why. Because most people just have no idea because they're floundering around. It's hard to find something to grab onto, because a new narrative is always being spun for whatever age we are in. And if we just stop for a moment and just go, okay, this stuff has a foundation somewhere. Let's look into the past for the answers. Most people don't go as far back as people like myself and others who are really questioning the foundations of our existence and saying, look, what about the Egyptians? What about even before them? And if you keep going, you see that time didn't just spring up out of nowhere, like we've been led to believe with all of the relegioning of the minds, that, we've only been here for 4,000 years, and there was primitive man, and there was caveman, and all this junk. That was all lies that they came up with for us to grab onto and believe. And we believed it because we were just young in our thought processes, and we had no evidence other than what we were being told. But now we're learning how to think for ourselves. And that's really the foundations of what all of this experience is about. So, it's nothing more than that. All right, so let's just keep going. To be clear, saying that these researchers have built a hole in time doesn't mean that they're literally manipulated space-time, the Time Lord style. Yeah, sure. They've already been doing time jump stuff. I've been hearing about it all over the place, and Nikola Tesla was involved. It has to do with how light works over fiber optic networks. In a fiber optic network, data is communicated in ones and zeros that are represented by pulses of light. One piece of equipment that can be employed with fiber optic networks is a phase modulator. The equipment modulates the timing of light waves of the same frequency. Two waves of light of the same frequency are out of phase to the degree that they are located in different positions at any given time. And in other words, the phase of a light wave determines to what degree that it interferes with another. Mathematically, the phase of the light wave is a measure of time rather than space. So when two light waves are phased such that one wave is at its positive maximum while the other is a negative maximum, the two waves cancel each other out, which makes it look like a flat line. On a fiber optic line, that interference can be created with a phase modulator. Now, one of the discoveries that I made on Zoom is that it will not record the higher frequencies. Like higher frequency sound waves, it cannot record. And I found that quite fascinating. But as we go through this phase of Aquarius, I believe we're going to learn how to manipulate these frequencies. Even in just the general population, we're going to know how to operate with these things, because we have to have the tools for the next war that's going to happen after 1,000 years. And that war is going to be us against the machine, the artificial intelligence that's going to be rising in the background of our world. That's eventually going to be a part of our major societies. And we're going to embrace this change because there's no other way to go about it. Some people will reject it, but you'll have to just disassociate yourself from the society that's going to be built around these cities. And there's plenty of land out there for the people who want to go do homesteading to go and choose your life without this narrative. It's been done throughout eons of time. Look at how we still have native tribes that are untouched by civilization in the world. You can choose that life and just live your life very naturally with the earth and never have to bother yourself with all of the nonsense that we create that we call civilization. That's how I see it. Okay, using two phase modulators, the researchers were able to create such interference which marked the beginning of the cloak. They then sent data over the network and used two more phase modulators to again create temporal interference, which marks the end of the cloak. Basically, they create a hole in time that can be used to hide data. Normally, when data is being sent over a fiber optic line, there's a visible voltage signal that can be detected. But when you turn on the cloak, as the researchers noted in the paper, the signal will reduce to a single flat line, and the data are effectively cloaked. This temporal cloak consequently succeeds in hiding communications at will by simply turning four phase modulators on and off. Sounds to me like this is probably what's going to be used and employed for the new quantum financial system that we're about to experience. Right now, all of the banks are failing, and the stock market exchange is also failing. That was preordained in the prophecy of the coming of the age of Aquarius. It's written in the stars. We do not know how to read the stars, and therefore we are left in the dark, and people are scrambling around trying to figure out what's going on. If you knew the heavenly science that's called astrotheology, you would absolutely know what sort of energy is going to be brought about at any given moment, because the stars dictate all of the time and the events that are coming. This is how the prophecies of old could be prophesied by these people who are very intelligent with a lot of knowledge. And this is what the Vatican and all of the magicians that are associated with it have been doing for thousands of years. They usurped all this knowledge, hid it away, squandered it underneath Vatican City, and then left us without the intelligence of the world and how we can actually utilize our own energy for the benefit of all. But it's going to be up to you and I and all the little people to actually stand in our countenance and stand together as one, and to see ourselves as equals instead of this separation that they've been doing in our minds through hypnosis and hypnotic spells. So in practice, this system isn't perfect. Although the researchers were able to hide all the transmitted data, they were only able to use about 46% of all the time slots available for sending the data. But according to the research, future cloaks based on our arrangement have the potential for significant improvements, both in terms of operational bandwidth and the duration of the cloaked region. To get those improvements, it's necessary for some current technology to improve, in particular the phase modulators themselves, which can cause some temporal distortions. However, the researchers suggest a method by which the cloak could be improved without advanced technology. Using that method could create a cloaking window of over 90%, according to the paper. If successful, that would mean that you'd be able to package more data into a temporal cloak. This is a double-edged sword like everything else. This is just like a knife that can be used for good and for bad. It can be used to hide many, many things that are of darkness. But I do feel like the light is growing and the light is about to take control of the world and to bring us back away from the brink of darkness that we were about to descend upon. Now, there are a lot of things that are still happening and being employed in the world that are of darkness, because we will be in this darkness in this winter of consciousness for another 2,150 years through the age of Aquarius, and then again through Capricorn, another 2,150 years. So over 4,000 years of darkness is what we have to experience. So just get ready when you come back. Try to program your mind and put in some sleeper cell action, like do your own hypnosis for your own cells for your next incarnation. Because whatever you learn right now, it has been told that you will be taking that experience into the future, into your next incarnation. I can actually attest for this based on the 2 different hypnosis sessions that I've had that actually showed me that that energy that I had experienced in 2 past lives, I actually am experiencing that in this life. So I do believe there's some truth to this. But if you get the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean, you can read in there. I feel like it's the Cliff's Notes. I do not know if this is a 100% accurate book, but for me, it felt very correct in that it was saying that it is a very, very long road to get to the light, and that we have to incarnate time and time again and again and again until we are so full of knowledge and awareness and experiences that we choose not to come back to this experience. I've heard that Earth is a school. I do not know. It seems to be a school. And when you do take this perspective, your entire life shifts and changes. Once you realize your true potential and what life has actually been teaching you, and you look at it from the perspective of an observer, you then realize that things are trying to show you signs and to teach you different lessons to make you stronger, or to make you think, or to make you stop and appreciate something. There's always a lesson to be learned. And if you can take this approach, instead of being a reaction type of person, and instead becoming a reflection type of person with all of your experiences, you will then learn and grow. And from your knowledge, you will become more adept. Okay, so the bottom line, though, is that this is a feasible security technology in the long run just by refining our current technology. As the researchers note in the paper, achieving a full cloak remains a possibility for the future. Nothing inherently prevents it, which means there may come a day when you're able to transmit information that not only can't be intercepted by a spy, but also without that spy being able to tell that you sent a message in the first place. Again, double-edged sword. I'm just going to leave this little link for this article in the description box, and I'll see you guys on the next one.